in the NFL Pro Bowl were former USFL players.
Well, I believe it. Yeah, Jim Kelly that came out of that league that was, that was known as a firecracker. He went to the Super Bowl 4 times. I mean,
Yes.
you get all sorts of guys that came out of that league. I mean, the thing I remember more than anything else about the USFL is the fact that these guys, they challenged the NFL. They went from being spring ball and they said, let's go to fall. And I always thought that was a mistake. I always thought that killed the league. What's your opinion on that?
Well, it hurt, yes. I think if John Bassett would have remained healthy, I think the league maybe would have made it. You know, there were several organizations that were losing a lot of money, but the Bandits were doing well. And when he became ill and passed away at the age of 47, I think, of a brain tumor, it was terrible. Kind of Donald Trump took over running the league, and it was his idea to file suit against the NFL and prove that they were a monopoly, and then move to the fall, and that hopefully they would absorb 4 or 5 of the teams into the league, and he would have gotten an NFL franchise for next to nothing.
Right. Well, which is a great business move, but if you're looking at it as sport, it didn't work. I mean, there were some great players. I mean, heck, you look at the New Jersey franchise. What was it? They had Flutie, they had Herschel.
Yes.
I mean, just
a lot of good players.
Steve
Young out of the LA Express.
Right, that's right.
And a ton of good players. Bobby Hebert.
Right, exactly.
So very good players.
Just great guys. So.
Kelvin Bryant was a great running back that went to the Redskins, gained over 1,000. Of course, we had Gary Anderson, who was a brilliant player, and I love playing with Gary. He's a great runner and great receiver.
He was great out of the backfield. One thing I remember about him is he was actually, if I remember correctly, playing for both the Bucks and the Bandits at the same time, kind of at one point, and that was.
I think we used him right. He only weighed about 180, but he ran 4.3, and he high jumped 7 foot in high school or college, and we used him on the draws and things of this nature, and let him catch the ball, and he was brilliant. And I remember watching him in some of the NFL teams. They were running him up the middle on the ISO play.
No,
that really wasn't Gary, although he did great.
Well, as long as you didn't hit him, it's like watching work done. As long you cringe every time there was somebody that was going to hit him. Now we're talking about later on you became a coach.
Yeah.
How'd that go for you? What was that like?
I loved coaching. When I was young, I thought about being a teacher, but then I said, well, I want to be a pro football player. And so I loved coaching. I really enjoyed it. And one of the things I said was that if I ever became a coach, I wanted to coach my players where they had all the answers. So, did you ever have a teacher that kind of hid the answers from you?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time. But I wanted them to know exactly what to do on every play and try to coach them up so that they could be successful. And I really enjoyed working with them and helped develop players. And then I got a chance to go to the University of Florida with Coach Spurrier there, and we won the 5 years I was there. We won 4 SEC championships.
That's not a bad way to go.
That was awesome. The first ones ever recognized.
That's great to see.
Yes, sir.
Nothing.
Wonderful.
Well, of course, you had some great quarterback talent too.
Oh yeah, we had Shane Matthews to start off, and then Terry Dean and Danny Werfel, and then I went to South Carolina, and they went on. I should have stayed another year. They won a national championship, so I'd have one of those big fat rings.
You can still say that you were part of that. That's just one. I mean, when you think about it, though, the guys that you had, Shane especially, you knew that when Shane went in the huddle, he knew where the ball was going to go.
Yeah, he was very accurate. He was smart. He was cool and calm. He had great feet. And and his arm strength developed, and he could hit it right on time. He was very good.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, since we're talking about college athletics, and I know you have a personal tie with college coaching and college athletics at USC right now, what do you think of college football and the state of it? How are these guys doing? I mean, you got teams all over the place going on probation. You got guys getting arrested for sexual assault today. Missouri play was kicked off the team. I mean, what is it impossible to control an 18-year-old? What's going on with that?
Well, there's 85 players on scholarship, and I think you're allowed 25 walk-ons. And a percentage of that, you're going to have 1 or 2 guys get in trouble. Just like across society, unfortunately. And a lot of players come from tough backgrounds. And without a lot of guidance. I was the same way, and I got in trouble myself. I'm not very happy about, but you know, it's such big business now. You know, it's incredible, and the exposure, and the players are so much bigger and faster and stronger. It's just incredible. You watch those high school games like I did the other night, Manatee Plant.
Manatee Plant, yeah.
Wow.
Great ball game.
Man, just
Kids are
players
fast.
all over the field. You know, they're televising high school games nationally now.
Yeah.
And then you go to these programs, and then you got these teams changing conferences. I see where the Big Ten's going to talk about which alignment they're going to have of the East and West. And I think it's all good. You know, I would just wish we had a playoff. You know, like at the end of the year, do all the bowl games and then have one more game with two teams.
I like the idea. At some point, we have to have a playoff. I mean, I'm a big fan, basketball-wise, of March Madness, and there's got to be a way for us to find a way to get a national champion that's not voted for, that's actually wins it on the field. I'm absolutely with you. Now, heck, got to ask the tough question here. Much has been made in the Tampa Tribune and in other areas about players of your era. There was a series in the 79 Bucks and injuries. How would you characterize your health now as a player, you know, that played in the 70s?
Well, I've had a lot of injuries. I've had 5 surgeries since 2006, and I need about 8 more.
That's all.
Yeah. Just went to some medical examinations, and have 3 degenerative discs in my back, my right shoulder knee surgery, my elbow, both knees need meniscus, my feet, you know. But I think when you get into your 50s, you know, it starts catching up with you. But it's a hard-hitting game, and a lot of us played on AstroTurf. I know those guys from the Bucks.
Which is concrete.
Really, I know a lot of those guys from the Bucks. I go to the NFLPA meetings, and all of them are hobbling around, got a lot of injuries. I just think if the NFL could come up with some way of maybe helping the guys get some surgeries and things and get some pain relief would help.
Well, you know, heck, I mean, the article I was reading, we've got Jerry Eckwood in an ALF in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes. And
the NFL is fighting his disability. And I don't understand that, you know.
Well, you know, there's a lot of guys, and they're just beginning to understand the concussions and things of that nature, you know, and there's a lot of guys that have some problems from that, like Jerry Eckwood did. And, you know, it's a tough sport, you know, like there's about 10 of my teammates in the pros are dead now, you know, that passed away. Most of them the big linemen, you know, either hearts or something like that. And so the longevity's not that great. Those linemen, man, they hit so hard, it's incredible on every snap.
Yeah, I mean, it's a collision it's a train wreck every
ferocious.
play.
It is so ferocious in there, and the pit is unbelievable. As a quarterback, you take the snap and hand off and hear that collision. It's like 2 trucks crashing.
Wow. Well, so if you had it to do again, would you do anything to protect your health? Would you do anything different?
Well, you know, I about protected myself as much as possible. You know, I see guys now don't wear thigh pads, don't wear hip pads, don't wear knee pads out there, and linemen too, and I don't understand how they can do that, you know, and I wore thigh pads and hip pads and knee pads and stuff like that. That can help your cushion the blow somewhat. I think they need to study the helmets more. Some of the problems may be resulting from the helmets.
Well, you know, it's funny. I saw where I was watching 2 games last week, and helmets flew off. And what is it? Eli Manning, his helmet flew off, and then in the Saints game the Monday night, the guy's helmet flew off. And I'm thinking, how does your helmet fly off?
Well, the collisions are just so incredible. You know, these guys are so much stronger now. You know, when I went to Florida, I think we had 2 guys could bench over 300. Now you got 40 guys on a team can bench over 400, maybe a few of them can bench over 500. Plus they can run so much faster with all the training and nutrition and everything else. The collisions are incredible.
Well, that's true. Linemen didn't weigh 300 pounds. Now they have to weigh 300 pounds to be on the line.
Right, and they can run and they're trim. And but you know, in these preseason games, we've seen 4 or 5 guys carted off with, you know, they're all strapped in with their necks and everything else. It's a frightening thing.
That's it.
The collisions have been incredible. You know, people trying to win jobs out there, they're like guided missiles.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? It's you got to do something. You got to win a job. So that's the thing to do. Well, let's do this. Let's take a little break from this conversation with John and go to our scoreboard where we're talking about local sports. For those